2026 just got even more confusing in Dokkan Battle. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video here today. We are taking a look at the 2026 year schedule and trying to see if we can pinpoint and break down how this year is going to play out. What Dokkan Fest exclusives can we expect to see throughout this year? Now, if you're watching this video now, you probably already know the shenanigans that happened. I actually recorded this video about a day or so ago and had a whole plan set to release just before the reveal of the Goku Day unit. And then they went and dropped a unit that no one expected. That messed my whole plan up. So I had to go back and re-record this. So if you're watching this now, this is with the addition to the re-recorded version of what we had previously done. Alrighty, so here we are. As many of you guys know, right, this year they have given us almost a pretty good layout of what to expect for the major campaigns this year, right? They were pretty upfront with us about how Saiyan Day was going to plan out, starting from the beginning of that producer letter that indicated that it was an LR. Then they went ahead and told us about the upcoming campaign schedule change. As many of you guys know, we are now shifting back to the original campaign schedule where the Transcendent Dokkan campaign, previously the Tanabata campaign, will be occurring around July, which was its original time slot, and the Global Dokkan campaign, previously worldwide celebration, will be returning to its originals. Last year, Global Dokkan campaign took place in July around the place of Tanabata and Global's anniversary, but now they have shifted. They assume to give each celebration its proper due. So that in mind, that actually can help us inform how this year is going to play out, combined with taking a look at some of the upcoming EZAS from 2020, 2021, 2022, and now 2023. So let's start with our known, right? Our first known is the May Dokkan Festival. Now, again, like I said, I had to record this portion of the video for the Dual Dokkan Fest, because I had originally assumed it wouldn't be a Dual Dokkan Fest, but rather an LR. Or even if it was a Dual Dokkan Fest, I did not expect it to be Battle of Gods. It could have literally been anything else, and we could have left the video as is, because I had originally assumed that they would release this with the release of the Dragon Ball Super Beerus remake, which is coming in, I believe, could be coming in October, with the final episodes airing in early November. So I assumed that this would drop with the November Dual Dokkan Fest in the previous global thank you slot. However, it is dropping now, and that does actually kind of helps us a little bit, but it does shift how we originally planned this timeline. But this is where we are. So then it begs the question, well, what is the part 2 for this celebration? Well, that's a good question, right? We already know that STR Whis and STR Beerus and Whis are getting a Super EZA. So this is a really interesting choice for Super EZAs, because this puts us right here into, where are they here? Are we beyond 2018 for Super EZAs? No, where are they? Gotta be over here somewhere. Why? It's really hard to tell with them being in black and white where they are. Where are the STR? There they are. Yeah, it's really hard to see. So 2018, yeah. So right here we have them 2018. So we're starting to hit 2018, for the Super EZAs. So that's a huge jump in Super EZAs, by the way. But it does make sense since I have a feeling we can expect to see these guys Super EZA during GDC. However, right, it's still a huge jump compared to our previous ones, right? Our latest Super EZAs being the Fizz Trunks and the AGL Trunks and Goten. So it is kind of a crazy jump. In terms of TUR DFEs, though, I expect to see Fizz God Goku EZA here during this celebration, so this kind of makes sense. And given that, there's really not much else to touch on from Battle of Gods. So a Part 2 LR, assuming there is one and it's not just a filler banner, I can see them doing something like a remake of the Rage Vegeta for the Part 2. Something a little... They have been building up Vegeta's family a lot this year, so it makes sense. Give us another Part 2 LR to fill out that Vegeta's family team. There's a lot they could do with this, right? Maybe they make him a counter type unit. Maybe they do him like the tech one where he's an insane support unit. Whatever they do, I mean, again, since they're doing a dual Dokkan Fest, Beerus and God Goku, there isn't much they can touch on for a legendary summon for Part 2, unless they want to touch on maybe focusing more on the Goku's family side of the campaign, because this campaign is not the typical Golden Week campaign. This campaign will be the Gohan, Goku, and Goten Day campaign part of it. So it's possible Part 2 could be something related to them, maybe Family Kamehameha or something, which was my original plan for the Dokkan Fest. So hard to say what Part 2 is, but if they want to keep the Battle of Gods theme, then this would be a good choice, right? Redoing the Rage Vegeta for that, with him possibly leading just maybe 200%. I doubt it. Maybe 200% for Exploding Rage, or we have that already, don't we? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do for this. But like I said, them putting this here kind of puts a damper on this, especially since it's going to be during the Gohan, Goku, and Goten Day campaign. So that really messes things up. However, I do think the rest of our year, based on the potential EZAs, can still play out relatively the same, even with this major change, starting with the June Dokkan Fest that will come after. So June is a really interesting spot because June tends to be a really big celebration, despite it not being a major celebration. There tends to be a lot. Tao's celebration, if you guys remember last year, ended up being pretty big. We got almost over 400 stones, I think, that celebration, which is a lot for a standard monthly celebration. And Turles celebration during 2023 was the same way. June in the Goku Black celebration the year prior in year 9 was a little rough. But so yeah, not all the time, but usually it is. But if we assume we're going to play by the same rules as most June Dokkan Fest, I can see them really playing into a similar setup to they did with the Turles celebration, focusing on the early movies, right? And we do have quite a few EZAs that would make sense for this, right? So if we focus on the early movies, right, we have, we could do something like the World's Strongest. And I imagine something here like, maybe just like a Goku and Gohan, or a Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo with an active skill. If you guys remember from the World's Strongest movie, there is an active skill where Goku, Gohan, Krillin, Roshi, and Piccolo, so for some reason he's there, all do the Kamehameha, and I think that would be a cool active skill. I've talked for a while about wanting to see that in Dokkan. I think it's a decent choice for a DFE TUR, right? The early Z movies do need a lot of love and a lot of attention, so here would be a good place to put this. And this honestly makes sense. If we are tapping into the early movies, there's a lot of EZAs that can actually go into that, right? Number one, right, we can do the LR I'm so used to the SCR one, the LR Spirit Bomb Goku, right? Colloquially known as Triku, could be the EZA for that celebration, right? Still focusing on the early Z movies, right? Low Class Warrior Gokus. And even, right, if they want to go a step further, right, we can also add in the Dead Zone EZA for the Goku and Piccolo. Speaking of the Dead Zone EZA, that brings up my idea for the Part 2, right? If we want to stay focused on the early movies, right, we could go Part 2, right? Just like how they did with the STR Goku and Piccolo getting a brand new standby card for while the Fizz variant got an EZA, I can see them EZAing the Int variant of this card while giving us a tag version of the Goku and Piccolo from the Dead Zone, right? And as long as it, they all kind of center around those early movies, I think that could be a decent celebration. Last year, the whole celebration kind of centered around Mercenary Tao and Tien, although from different parts of DB Saga, they still kind of fit that Earthbred Fighters, Crane School theme. So this could be kind of a going theme for June, leading us into the next big celebration following this Golden Week campaign, or Goku, Gohan, and Goten, just before TDC, and that is the TDC campaign. Now, the TDC campaign is weird. Because last year, it was seemingly, they didn't seemingly treat it like Tanabata. They didn't give it the same burr as they did prior, but instead treated it almost as if it was just a regular monthly Dokkan Fest. Now, it did kind of line up with the Community Fest, and so there was a little bit of hurrah for the part 2 with the Broly, but the actual campaign itself, it didn't feel like they put a whole lot into it, even though by the end of it, it kind of was basically on the same level of regular Tanabatas. But they did mention specifically this year that they want to build it up more, like they had done with, say, the UI Goku Tanabata campaign. And I can see them doing this by tapping into the Namek Saga. We know that the current Dokkan Frontier is coming to a close, and when it comes to a close here soon, we will be getting the LR Awakening for the Tech Goku that is coming with that, and possibly even some EZAs for the units that were released, like the Krillin. Maybe, we'll see. But we do know that Goku will awaken into an LR. It makes sense to line that awakening up with, and the modes, at least the Namek Saga modes, ending with the release of a Namek Saga celebration for Transcendent Dokkan campaign. It even fits the theme. Transcendent, Goku transcending into the first Super Saiyan. Hey, it writes itself. So I'm thinking this can be our TDC LR, Dokkan Fest LR, for the Transcendent Dokkan campaign, which obviously means his Part 2 Carnival LR very likely to be the Wolf form Frieza from the Namek Saga. And if they want to go a step further, give him active skill transformation into full power Frieza. We don't have a full a final form Frieza premium unit in Dokkan. I say it's about time we remedy that situation, and this kind of seems the best way to do it with the TDC campaign. I don't really see Namek making GDC. The fact that they refused to touch Namek for anniversary, and now that they're treating GDC as a second anniversary, I really don't see them tapping into Namek for GDC. But Transcendent Dokkan campaign, I think it fits right along in there, and it's the perfect place, especially considering the ending of the Dokkan Frontier campaign, which takes us into the August campaign. And just so you know, actually, let's back up a second, right? For EZAs for this celebration, right? The reason I think this is not just the ending of the Frontier, but this would also be the perfect place to end, do these guys as EZAs, centered around the Wicked Bloodline and Super Saiyans. Like, those two could easily lead Wicked Bloodline and Super Saiyans, and then you can just EZA maybe one set of these, and then the other set could EZA during GDC, right? And you'll see why I think that could happen as well here in a second. If not, right, you could easily touch, with Bardock, and you could easily tap into him, but I have another idea for him, but he could easily tap into the celebration. Super EZA for the Fizz Bardock during that celebration. There's not many 2023 units that could go with that, though. That's the only thing. So they would have to tap into these guys, I would say. And honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal to do that. If they really wanted to be silly, they could EZA this guy, since he is technically Wicked Bloodline, and just remove his Tournament of Power restrictions, right? Yeah. So moving on, right, from TDC, we will move into the August campaign. The August is usually a half campaign, usually about a 2-week campaign, and not much else to it. So for this year, looking at the type of characters that we have available for EZA, I do think it makes sense that here we could see a Dokkan Fest Tapion. It's been a while since Tapion's been represented, and at that point, the only EZA left from 2021 would be the Tapion and Minosha. Easy 2-week campaign, drop him, drop the EZA for the Tapion and Minosha, and call it a day. Last year, August campaign was tied into the GDC Dokkan campaign, but I don't see that happening this year. I think that was exclusive to last year. Now that it's been shifted to September, definitely not going to happen, and I doubt they'll extend TDC. So I imagine August Dokkan Fest will return to a regular Dokkan Fest slot. With that said, if we do this, that'll take us... Well, it won't take us straight into GDC because actually, the second half of August is often the summertime campaign centered around the Peppy Gal. So we'll be getting a, blue coin Peppy Gal banner. Last year, that was this banner here. Nothing too crazy, These two EZA'd here, and then they return these guys. The EZAs on this one should be the the STR-18 and the Mamba. So, expect to see that. I don't think it has anything relation specific to the campaign, but, there is that. Moving on, that'll take us into GDC. And here's my idea for GDC. A little crazy, but hear me out. The theming here is centered around, the Super Saiyan Blues. And as well as movies, movie heroes and movie bosses, which lines up with the potential for the EZAs that we talked about earlier, the 2022 worldwide EZAs, one set of these like Cooler and Birdcoo could EZA during TDC, and then you can tap into these guys for the second half and still fall under the movie heroes theming for my idea for the GDC. And basically the way I would think it would work is we would get a tag Blue Goku and the Dokkan Fest tag Blue Goku and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Super Broly. Although I do think that this would be, honestly, you could drop them in any order. I don't really think it matters, but tag Blue Goku and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Super Broly as the Dokkan Fest. They don't have to fuse, honestly, and it's probably better that they don't fuse. And I can see them, since they didn't drop a tag fusing Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta at Anniversary, I could see them not doing tag fusing Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, or not Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta here. But they also could, because, the running theory now is that for Anniversary, 12th Anniversary, we're getting a standalone Blue Gogeta and Blue Vegito. So they could just drop the tag here right now, and that would work just fine. But even if they're not tagging, even if they're not fusing, the tag unit would still be a good idea here. In fact, both of these I think could be tagged. The tag Resurrection of X Duo and tag Blue Super Broly Duo, with their boss cards, of course, being Golden Frieza and Full Power Super Broly being the Carnival. Makes sense, right? They could buff a lot of teams with this, continue to buff the Wicked Bloodline, continue to buff those Extreme Saiyans we've been getting all year, as well as continue to buff Realm of Gods and movie heroes and movie bosses. Like, it's a solid idea for a campaign. Whether they do it or not, this is just my idea, but it does fit with a lot of what we have lined up coming for these guys. And I would like to point out, this is something we talk about a lot on this channel, right? Every time Dokkan drops a sort of mediocre EZA, they almost inevitably very soon, there are some exceptions, they almost inevitably drop a brand new variation of that unit shortly thereafter. ROF Blues, not terrible, but they're definitely they're definitely mediocre, in terms of like they weren't crazy like some of the other cards that EZA during that celebration. I could definitely see them getting the full treatment with a Carnival LR during GDC. So that's my idea for GDC. Moving on to the October Dokkan Fest. October is another place where we tend to get something not as hype. Although last year we did end up getting Baby, which was kind of hype, but I know that's not hype for everybody. But we did get Baby during that time. And so one of the things I thought they could tap into, right? At some point, we're going to have to touch Android Cell Saga. And without hitting characters that we've already done, or without hitting the major Super Saiyans from that arc, because I doubt they're going to redo Trunks again. Although they could, I would like that. But I would also like them to tap into other parts of the saga too, right? And my idea for the October Dokkan Fest is, right, and a Dokkan Fest Tenshinhan from the fight with semi-perfect Cell, right? Right after Piccolo loses. There's a lot you could do with this, right? You could tap into EZAs for the Super Trunks during this, and I'll get into why that's important here in a second. But you could tap into that EZA. There's also a few Super EZAs that could potentially make sense here, such as, right, if we're going into 2023, you could, for Android Cell Saga, right, you could tap into Future Gohan here, right? They could do the Prime Battle LR Trunks Super EZA. They could do the Prime Battle LR Vegeta Super EZA. There's quite a few units that they could do here that would be completely fine during this October campaign, and it still make the campaign work. You could also Super EZA if you lead like Earthlings or something. You could also Super EZA the World Tournament. Although that would end up being our first World Tournament Super EZA, wouldn't it? The World Tournament Tien and Chaozu. So you could do that there. You could also Super EZA the Perfect Cell, although I don't think that would be a good idea, because my theory for him is he would be more centered around Saviors and Android Cell Saga Superclass units, which would drive us into the most amazing part 2 ever. The October Dokkan Fest tag Vegeta and Super Trunks, right? This would be the legendary summon for that part 2, and it makes sense, right? Following the sequence, all right, Tien steps in, and then Vegeta and Trunks show up from the hyperbolic time chamber, and I would just love to get this animated, right? A redo of the STR free-to-play card, but animated with proper animations. And then, of course, right, Vegeta's intro to Trunks, where he's introducing Trunks as, this is my son. He's almost as strong as I am. That would just be awesome to have. So hopefully they do this eventually. And then you could... We still don't know how they would handle free-to-play Super EZAs, but I mean, if they want, they honestly should start tapping into the free-to-play TURs for Super EZAs just to keep their longevity, right? Because then you could tap into, right, the tech Goku and Gohan and the tech or the STR Vegeta and Trunks. You can also EZA during this time, right? Where is it? Oh, here they are. These guys here. Goku and Gohan, Android Cell Saga. This would be a good place for them. So that's our October idea, leading into our November DFE. So now that we're switching everything now that we're switching everything from GDC and TDC back to their original time slots, right? After our October, we're going to go into a regular Dokkan Fest for November, and with No More Heroes, it's going to be a full celebration. And this one was kind of an odd pick because there isn't much to work with, right? Unless we really start tapping into some major things from 2023, which I don't think we're going to do. So really the only thing left, and this is just a hunch, but if we focus on the low-class warriors here with the Great Ape Bardock, I think this would be a great slot for the November Dokkan Fest. You introduce a Great Ape Bardock, you can then justify the EZA for this celebration, since there aren't any major EZAs. You could justify the EZA for Tech Bardock, and then justify an EZA for the Great Ape Bardock team, right? That team has still not EZA'd, and I see this as the perfect opportunity to do so during the November Dokkan Fest. Now, Last year, we got an additional Part 2 LR Legendary Summon for the November Dokkan Fest, which we don't normally get because usually this celebration is taken up by heroes. Now, they could do one of two things. They could just ignore this entirely and not bring this in and just focus on the Black Friday campaign. Or they can bring back heroes, or for now, we're going to assume that they're going to continue with last year's plan. So last year we got Goma at this time. I'm going to assume they're going to do the same thing and introduce a Part 2 LR. And there is another character that could fit the theming, right? If the theme focuses on not just the Grade 8 power, but also space traveling warriors, I can see them introducing a new LR Turles. The previous LR Turles we got was not an LR Turles by himself, right? He was the LR Turles in Crusher Core. I can see them introducing an LR Turles that is just Turles or transforming Turles, right? Eating the fruit of the seed, the fruit of the Tree of Might, or possibly continuing the theming of that celebration, Great Ape Power, right? So this could be a Great Ape Turles. You could justify EZAing the Fizz Turles from 2023 here, as well as the Crusher Core units, right? The Yamen and Dates. You could easily justify that, and you could build pretty much a decent team out of them, right? And with the way content is going now, you're sure to have a fight where you can activate his passive, or they just remove that part entirely, which I hope they do, right? Having specifically a Youth Gohan was crazy. But yeah, so they could possibly do that there for that, the November celebration. And that takes us into the end of the year. And you know what? It's been a while, right? Used to be that December was the Tournament of Power timeframe, right? And it's been a while since we've gone there. So why not this year? This year has been weird. We've been breaking a lot of patterns, but we've also been reestablishing a lot of other patterns too. So why not go back to December Power? And with that, right, we have an option for some decent units. Now, maybe they'll do something a little more hype here, but I would kind of like to see this eventually represented. But attack Krillin and 18 from the Tournament of Power, I think would be really a really cool concept for a card. And here you could justify EZAing the int 17 and 18. I don't see them doing tags 17 and 18 while EZAing this. I mean, I feel like that. I mean, I did talk about them doing that with Goku and Piccolo, and they have already done it with Goku and Piccolo, but I don't see them doing that every single time. So to mix it up a little bit here, it came up with a different style of unit. So still having the Android 18, right? We can justify EZAing the 18 and 17 here, as well as this might be the perfect place to finally get this free set out of the way, right? So they could have two during this celebration because of our idea for the Part 2. Now the Part 2 is a little weird because I couldn't really think of a good Part 2. I don't think it's going to go into a Goku, right? Because we already got UI Goku this year. But there is an option, and there is an option that we've been waiting for a very long time that they've been hiding from us, but we know they have it. We know it's there. They accidentally showed it to us once, and then they immediately changed it. I haven't forgotten. But that is, right? I can see a December Part 2 Carnival Kefla, right? We still have a lot of use out of the Kefla, the kale and cauliflower from last year, right? There's quite a few stages they can still be useful in. The tech kale and cauliflower are still very useful, right? Throw in a Carnival Kefla here, and boom, you've got a halfway decent team. You justify EZAing the AGL Kel, who can benefit from the Fizz Kale and Cauliflower, and the Tech Kale and Cauliflower, who could still be useful in that period, and then boom, or just remove her restriction for Cauliflower entirely, right? When they EZA, they can do that, you know? And you've got yourself a Tournament of Power team that kind of mixes Universe 6 and Universe 7. I think that could be an interesting concept that focuses on the tag aspects of both sides of that. Or they could just dump it all into Goku again, because who cares about anybody else, right? And then we end up with I don't know, Super Saiyan Blue Goku who revives into UI, because why the hell not? Let's get another UI in here for 2026. I don't know. But that's just my theory, because I don't think we're really going to touch in. I don't think we're going to touch on GT again this year. I think Anniversary was it, and even that was really pushing it. And that's also why I don't think this would be a UI, because there is options from here that we could do that doesn't need us to add more Gokus and Vegetas. I don't think we're going to touch Future Saga. In fact, Future Saga, if Future Saga doesn't happen during Anniversary, I think the most likely place is next GDC again. That seems to be the lovable place for it. And I don't think we're going to touch the Golden Week units just yet. So I think GT is kind of out of the question for the moment. Crossover, Android 18, Android 21 is in a really weird spot. New Year's units, hard to say when they'll be. They will either happen during New Year's, which, you know, maybe we get another movie hero celebration for New Year's, or they'll happen during near Golden Week. That's typically when we see those. So yeah, the limited amount of EZAs we have from 2022, I think, really helped us play out how this year is going to play out. And I do think we were kind of onto something here. It's not a perfect prediction, right? There may be some changes. I could be completely wrong. There might be something we're onto. We might just have the EZAs right, but the units wrong. You never know. That's the cool thing about predicting this year. But it does give us an idea of kind of how we can see this year playing out, because at a minimum we can picture the major EZAs that will come out of this. So guys, that is it for our video. That is our prediction for how this year will play out in Dokkan Battle. If you guys like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know what units would you like to see represented as Dokkan Fest this year, and what did you think of our prediction? Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.